This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
Hello, I'm Phil McKinney, and welcome to my studio, what some have come to call the Innovator's Garage. I'm glad you could take the time out today to come and just kind of hang out. So, how's your week going? Mine has been more than a little crazy, which is, I'm guessing it's going to be quickly becoming the norm, with being a CEO as my day job, plus doing the radio show, plus making some angel investing, coaching, mentoring. I'm in the middle of book 2. Things have gotten a little crazy on my end, but I'm going to save that, talk about that maybe at the end of this show, or I'll talk about it in a future show. This week, I was going back through the show archive, which now extends back to March 2005. And I was looking at all the guests who've been on the show. Now, I've interviewed nearly 100 innovation experts and authors since then. We've had experts ranging from Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the web, Jeffrey Moore, author of Crossing the Chasm. Now, he's been on the show 3 times. Bob Metcalfe, the inventor of Ethernet, and he invented Ethernet while he was at Xerox PARC and left Xerox PARC to co-found 3Com. And then Peter Guber, former CEO at Sony Pictures and currently one of the co-owners of the Golden State Warriors. We've ranged from that end all the way down to students such as Nick Titus, CEO and co-founder of Myonic Technologies, a high school student who invented a technology that helps people who have suffered a stroke to regain movement. Now, he invented that as a science fair project. Here's the interesting fact. He did not win his science fair project. But him and his buddies, they're taking a gap year from school, now working on commercializing this technology. Now, beyond those I've interviewed, I've also had a chance to spend extensive time with others on their innovation projects, including helping Elon Musk on that large display that's in the Tesla dashboard. His team and I met with Elon a couple of times as we worked through coaching or guiding them a little bit about how to manufacture that so it can withstand all the stresses and strains of being a big piece of glass inside of an automobile. Jimmy Iovine, co-founder of Interscope Records and chairman of Interscope, Gaffin, A&M, working with Jimmy on Beats and the Beats headphones and taking the Beats technologies and bringing that there to the consumer electronics devices, such as laptops and other devices. And we also put it into handsets and mobile phones. And then working with Will.I.Am from the Black Eyed Peas, brainstorming. Will's had this crazy idea, still has this crazy idea of how to recreate the live music experience. Now, when I look across everybody that I've interviewed and all of these great and incredibly smart people that I've worked with or helped giving them advice or answer their questions, is there a common trait of attributes, or what some people would maybe call them obsessions, across them? Is there some commonality across this list of people? And my answer is yes. Yes. Now, when I think what makes these people highly creative, I would boil them down to having these common, I'm going to call them obsessions or attributes. So we're going to go through that. That's the topic for today's show. Number 1 attribute for the most innovative people I know, people I've interviewed, people I've worked with. Number 1 is curiosity, being naturally curious. Now, how do I know when people are curious? They ask really great questions. They're using questions to really tap in and discover more. They're never satisfied. They're never satisfied with what they read online or satisfied with the first answer they get. They want to dig. They're looking for that nugget behind the problem, that nugget behind the idea, or the nugget behind some change or trend or something that's emerging. But why are questions such a great indicator? Because it's hard to tell if someone's just naturally curious. It's kind of a silent activity. They read a lot, maybe they have their headphones in, listening to audiobooks. The indication to me that someone is highly curious is in the questions, the number of questions and how good the questions are. And questions are great because they let you get beyond the obvious. They let you dig. They let you pull other people in to collect their perspectives, their thoughts, and their expertise. Now, as part of curiosity, they also don't let experience or habits cloud them. They don't get hung up on, well, we've always done it this way, or I learned it this way in school, or these are the best practices that we've always used in XYZ industry. And so therefore they're willing to not let history, past habits, approaches get in the way. Now, a lot of them also, change the way how they define this commonality. They don't look at things in the way we normally look at it. They're willing to flip things on their head, look at them in a completely different way. And it really steps up this ability to kind of see with fresh eyes. Naturally curious people just have this inherent ability to see with fresh eyes. Eyes that aren't clouded by history, perspectives, education, previous jobs, previous bosses. They look at everything with fresh eyes and they're never satisfied. So, curiosity, number one. Number two is being a nonconformist. Now, I did a speech last year sometime on bravery. And if you've listened to that, I'm just going to give you just a quick 10-second highlight of it. The concept of the speech is that the opposite of bravery is not cowardice. The opposite of bravery is conformity, fitting in, looking just like everybody else. And innovation requires bravery. Being a nonconformist, you could use the term bravery in place of that, are people who aren't looking to be like everybody else. They know that they're different. They know that the way they look at things are different. They are hard to categorize. You can't put them into a bucket and treat them like everybody else. In fact, some of them you would actually say are a little eccentric, a little strange, maybe even a little weird. Look, I worked with Jimmy Iovine for probably over 2.5 years on the Beats effort. When Beats was being worked on, I was either down in LA at Jimmy's office or he was up in Silicon Valley. And all that time, I never saw Jimmy without his baseball cap. Never. I've never seen him live and in person without his baseball cap. I have to go to Google and do a Google search to find some photos of him when, in a rare occasion, he does not have his baseball cap on. Now, do you have that as weird? Now, Jimmy is incredibly smart, incredibly intuitive. He's the person who found, Will.I.Am, who found Lady Gaga. So he's able to kind of really sense where the trends are going in the music industry and just put that together so nicely. Now, Elon, I've had a number of meetings with Elon in his offices at Tesla. And every time I've had a meeting, he's multitasking. I walked in one time in an early meeting. We were talking about the big display in the dash of the Tesla. And on the conference room table in his office was the entire wiring harness for one of their vehicles. And he sat there. We had a very intense conversation. At the same time, he was totally debugging the wiring harness. I was totally amazed. And I jokingly tell people that after every meeting I ever had with Elon, I had to go home and take a nap because it was just mentally draining to try to keep up with him. People who are highly creative, highly innovative, have this characteristic, this attribute about being a nonconformist. They don't care. They're not focused on what other people think. They are focused on the idea, the opportunity. They carve their own path. And they don't do things in the traditional way. If you think about Bob Metcalf, taking the risk, striking out from Xerox PARC. Now, this is way back in the 70s, right? Nobody was leaving safe, secure jobs to go try something new. And Bob, in his interview that's in the archive, tells the story of signing the papers in his little apartment over near Stanford University. Or Tim Berners-Lee, he had a full-time job. The whole web and hyperlink thing was a side hack. He was working on it outside of his normal activities. These are people who are doing things in the nonconformist way. Now things maybe we see it as normal, like leave a big company to go do a startup. Everybody's doing it. Back when Bob did it, nobody was doing it. Tim, nobody was doing side hacks. he was doing side hacks. So we've only covered 2 of the attributes for the most innovative people I've gotten to know. I've either interviewed them or worked with them on their projects. We have a lot more to go through, so you're not going to want to go anywhere. Stay right there. We're going to be right back after this quick commercial break. You're listening to Killer Innovations on the BizTalk Radio Network.
This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
This episode of Killer Innovations is brought to you by Zoom. Zoom is a tool we use each and every day. Connect with my team scattered around the world to bring guests into the studio. That's how we do the interviews with the guest. Zoom is a tool that brings happy back to collaboration. In the past, collaboration technologies, or at least I found collaboration technologies to be a real challenge. Zoom changes all of that. With great video, great audio, and instant sharing and the ability to collaborate with large teams scattered out all over, it has transformed how businesses work. So check it out. Zoom is making available a free account. You can collaborate with up to 50 people, 50. So check them out over at killerinnovations.com/Zoom. That's all you need, killerinnovations.com/Zoom to get your free account and check it out. Try that first collaboration, and trust me, you will be hooked. Now, continuing on in our conversation about the attributes of the most innovative people I've interviewed or that I've worked with them on their projects. We've covered the first 2. Number 3, chasing the new. One of the attributes or characteristics that I've seen of people that are very, very innovative is they're constantly looking at what is new. They're always up to date at what the latest thing is in their area. And they have the latest thing. They've got the latest phone. They buy the latest car. They're reading the most latest hip book that just came out, or they get a pre-release copy of it. They're on the beta list for apps. They have the latest thing. They just have this desire to see and experience. They're willing to break trail for the others. They're willing to be the guinea pigs. They're willing to be that experimenters. These are the people who, if you probably picked up their phone and looked at the number of apps they had on their phone, it's 2x to 3x what everybody else has. Of course, though, probably 75% of them they don't use. But they've tried them. They've tried them all. They've tried every to-do list. They've tried every management tool trick. They've tried every little application that is something either helping them with their business or directly in the area that they're interested in. But they are these experimenters, and they are willing to suffer through being at that bleeding edge of whatever is that new thing. Now, they're willing to be those debuggers, and they don't see it as a negative. They don't see it as, oh, I'm trying out this new app, or I'm the first person to buy this phone, or the first year that this kind of a car has ever been shipping, I'll be the first one. They don't see it as a negative that there's going to be a problem. They see it really as just enhancing their education, keeping them sharp, keeping them on the edge of whatever that is coming next. Now, this chasing the new can also be a little bit of a problem, right? Because you never can get kind of solidified in to what is really being accepted. You're not looking behind them to see what kind of the mainstream of the people that are coming up. But in the case of the characteristics of the people I know, they have this just sixth sense of being out there at the edge, right? Chasing the new, while at the same time keeping their pulse on where the mainstream people are going. Now, this plays out in spades for people like Jimmy Iovine. Jimmy built his entire career as being one of the real thought leaders in the entertainment music industry, founding Interscope, finding these young performers, going into these dingy nightclubs and open mic sessions where performers can get up and perform where they can't before they can even get out there to get a gig. Jimmy would scour them, and that's this ability to see what's kind of really the new thing that's going to emerge as being the hot trend in music, but at the same time, constantly looking over his shoulder to see where the main wave is going to land. So being there first, but not being so far out in front that he can't steer it depending on where the mainstream population is going to come in. And the highly innovative ones are the ones that kind of can stay out in front, but know where the mainstream customers, markets, perceptions, desires are. Where are they going to land? And when you can get those two to land at the same time, that future view and the view of where people are going, you can get that to land in the same spot, magic happens. That is when you get breakaway successes, like in the case of Jimmy, Lady Gaga, or what Steve Jobs did with the iPhone, where the phone had been out there for a long time, but Steve pegged out where he thought the market was going to be, and then he made those adjustments as the mainstream caught up, and he had the patience to wait to bring the right product to the market at the right time, and magic happens. So it is about chasing the new, but the real innovation leaders have that ability to be looking at that future view, but yet at the same time, stay connected with what is going on. And so it's a little bit of this struggle, the back and forth. I've talked about it in the past. I've spent 20 years of my career being the person that gets asked all the time to say, what's happening 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now? And I've even done work that's even looking at 20 years from now. And 20 years from now is incredibly hard to do. But the key there is that you can go out and look out into the future, but if you don't attach it to what's happening on today, you're going to be a total miss. It's a nice little fun mental exercise, but unless you connect the two, the value is absolutely zero. So this is where that's why I put this in as one of the attributes for the most innovative people who are just constantly knocking it out of the park with new product, new services, new ideas, new things on a regular basis that can just constantly just crush it, is because, yes, they chase the new, they've got that new idea, but they've got this sixth sense about where it's going to land and where the mainstream people, friends, people, businesses, governments, societal as a broad category, where are they heading and where do you intersect? So I'm probably rambling here a little bit, but this is one of those things that's hard to describe. It's along the lines, if you go back and listen to some of the previous shows where I talk about getting the timing right. In the case of the people who've got these attributes, they are getting the timing right. It is just nailing it. And what's really impressive is the people on this list haven't done it just once. They've done it repeatedly. They've done it over and over and over again. If you think of, Will.I.Am, they have to do it every time for a song if you're a musician. Jimmy with an artist. Peter Guber with films. This film versus that film. Which film is going to win? Which film is going to be the box office hit? They do it over and over again. So stay right there. We've got more attributes to discuss when we come back from this commercial break. You're listening to Killer Innovations.
This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
This episode of Killer Innovations is sponsored by HP. Now, I'm excited to announce that HP has become a sponsor. We're still working through the logistics. But why would they support this show? I have a long history with HP, having formerly been the Chief Technology Officer at HP. But HP is aligned at looking at what is next, bringing forward the innovations and technologies to allow you and your organization to be more productive, more creative, and most importantly, with all the latest things happening, more secure. The level of security in the products coming out now is beyond imagined. So take a look at them. We will have more information as the sponsorship comes together, but I've been testing and working with and playing with some of the more recent products, and just to say I'm impressed is an understatement. So check them out. We will have a little bit of information coming up soon up at killerinnovations.com/HP. So check it out, killerinnovations.com/HP. Now, continuing on in our conversation about those attributes or characteristics of the people that I have found to be most innovative and most creative. And let's start off this segment talking about one that I'm sure you will all agree with me on, and you've heard me talk about this before, is perseverance. They don't take no for an answer. Now, this is different than the curiosity that we talked about earlier in the show. Curiosity being constantly digging, wanting more information. Perseverance is you've got that idea, you've locked in on it, and you're not going to take no for the answer. Now, for people who are highly innovative and highly creative, perseverance is really one of those core drivers. They don't give up. They believe in their vision, even when everyone else says that they are absolutely nuts, they're crazy, this idea will never work. In fact, I jokingly advise people that, once you hear someone tell you, oh, you are crazy, that idea will never work, you probably have a really good idea. Every leading innovator has heard that. Everybody from Thomas Edison to Benjamin Franklin, Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein, you go through the list. And everybody that's really done that breakthrough, game-changing, totally upsetting the apple cart with the way people thought certain industries or certain sciences were going to work or play out over time, when those individuals came in and totally turned it around, their ideas were categorized as crazy, it's never going to work. In some cases, people were identified as heretics. But it's through that perseverance, that not giving up. They don't know how to take no for an answer. No doesn't mean, oh, okay, I'm not going to go forward with it. No means I've got to go find a different way to go make this happen. They are really driven to see that idea that's rattling around in their head and have it become real. And so, in some cases, these are the people that, if you're an innovation lead or an organization and you find somebody on your team, these are the people that are constantly coming back with that same idea. You may have said no, or some form of a team that's evaluating ideas may have said no, and they're not giving up. They're going to push. They're going to prod. They're finding a way to take that idea and move it forward. Take that feedback. They're going to go back. They're going to modify that idea. They're going to come back in. And again, these people can be, they're probably some of the more, maybe a little annoying people within your organization. Don't brush them off. Here's my advice. Don't brush them off. You want to listen to them. Now, if you are this person, if you view yourself as being that highly innovative, I'm also giving you a little bit of advice here too. Back off just a little bit. Perseverance, key core attribute for those that are highly innovative, but don't burn the bridge at the same time. You may need to find a completely different way, which may also mean leaving the organization that you're currently at. If you truly believe in that idea and that idea is going to be successful, and it's the idea that just really has grabbed your heart, go do it. But you may need to do it outside of the organization that you are currently a part of. So, perseverance. These are individuals who just don't know how to take no for an answer. If I look back on, the list of people that I have interviewed, over the years, whether that's, look at, Peter Guber. He started off, he built up his career at Sony Pictures. He was executive producer on a number of films. He got into professional sports with minor league baseball, but he knew he wanted to be in the sports area. Sports entertainment was really where his passion was at. And so, albeit he started in minor league baseball, he just constantly dug in. He was really pushing it. He was really going to drive some innovations, and he did some really creative things within the minor league teams that he owned at the time. And then he comes up and he gets an opportunity to buy in on the Golden State Warriors, and then he became part of the LA Dodgers ownership too. So he's fulfilled his dream. And it wasn't something that, okay, I'm going to do it in 6 months. If not, I'm going to go find off and do something else. He stayed with it for a very, very long period of time. Another attribute for people that I think are highly innovative, highly creative, when I look across the people that I'm close to and know and have worked side by side with, is being highly flexible. Highly flexible. It's rare that your original idea manifested in the way that you envisioned it. It's going to go through changes. The market changes. The timing changes. The technologies that are available to build your product changes. The ability to be flexible as things change and become very, very dynamic. These are people who can adjust. Now, this is a key combination with perseverance. A lot of people misinterpret perseverance as I'm going to lock in that one idea and that's the only thing I'm going to focus on. That's not the case. You need perseverance to say I'm going to hit walls and I've got to be able to, figure out why I'm hitting the wall and then come up with another idea. And that's part of this being highly flexible. So perseverance by themselves is just stubbornness. Perseverance combined with high flexibility equals being innovative, being able to adjust, being able to take that idea and recognize that it's not going to be fulfilled in the form that you originally envisioned it at. You need to learn, you need to listen, you need to adjust, you need to adapt. You need to be highly, highly flexible. So again, perseverance by itself, that's just stubbornness. That's just people who just can't even listen to any other counter idea or thought that doesn't agree with what they have in their head. Look, a lot of people view Steve Jobs as being this magic wizard who came up with the full form. Trust me, Steve's idea for the phone involved being highly flexible, adjusting and adapting as technologies became available, as things all were brought together to make that original iPhone. There was flexibility that needed to be shown and was shown in order to deliver, such a, cornerstone product and technology into the marketplace. So again, perseverance, highly, highly flexible. People that I've seen that are highly innovative, they're those that will listen. You can actually get them to change their decision on even some of the fundamentals of what you think of as that core idea. The ultimate objective for them is to see this problem solved. How it gets solved, they're open to whatever inputs, any ideas, etc. So again, perseverance combined with being highly flexible, those two go side by side. That's why I'm talking about them together rather than treating them as really two distinct different attributes. And so it is, again, one of those key characteristics. Now, we've covered 5 of those of the key attributes that we've talked about so far. So we've had curiosity, we've had being a nonconformist, they want to chase the new. We talked about perseverance. We talked about being highly flexible. So we have one more core attribute that I think of when I think about people that I'm close to that I would classify as being highly, highly innovative, like Sir Tim Berners-Lee or Peter Guber or Elon Musk or Jimmy Iovine. So stay right there. When we come back in the last segment of the show, we're going to talk about this last core attribute, and then I'll wrap it all up and give you a little bit more background on why it was these particularly 6 attributes. So stay right there. We are going to be right back. You're not going to want to miss this. We're going to bring up the last of the 6 core attributes as soon as we come back from this quick, short commercial break.
This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
So we're talking about the 6 attributes of the most innovative people I know. So far we've covered curiosity, about being a nonconformist, chasing the new, perseverance, and being highly flexible. So what's number 6? Number 6 is these people take action. They don't wait around to complete analysis. They don't wait until they have perfect information. They don't wait until they have it all figured out. Look, Elon came up with Hyperloop, which is, putting this almost like a train inside of a tube and using the air and magnets to accelerate you through, being able to travel at incredibly high speeds. Elon didn't even have it all done, wasn't even sure he was going to even drive the business. He announced it and he shared all the information he had about it so that other entrepreneurs could actually then go build businesses around it, right? He didn't wait until it had it all done. They're still trying to figure out everything around Hyperloop. How's that going to work out? And there's a number of companies out there and they're holding competitions, and there was a student competition recently where colleges could actually design a Hyperloop car, stick it into the tube, and then test to see how it worked. So in this case, Elon took action. He didn't wait until he had it all figured out and he raised all of his money. He was almost very counter to this whole thing of stealth. Oh, I'm stealth. I don't have a website because I don't want to let anybody else know what I'm working on, right? They take action. They avoid what I would call the resource trap. I can't tell you how many people call me up or send me an email or want to, chat with me because they've got this really great idea, but they can't get going because they don't have the people, time, or money. That's the resource trap. If you look back across all the people that I've mentioned here so far, they started their careers with nothing. They didn't go raise big $1 billion or go to VCs and raise money. In fact, the trend now is not to go raise the money from the VCs. Go cheap, scrape your money, keep it underneath your control. Don't bring outside investors until you've launched, till you got revenue, and more importantly, if you can, make it all the way to profitability. But take action. Don't use excuses as to why. They find the ways to move now, and then they let other things catch up. They let the VCs catch up. They let the ecosystems of technologies that they need to ultimately deliver what it is to catch up, right? They don't wait. They take action. They lean towards moving rather than being stuck and hung up in analysis. And they have to take big bets in order to get moving, right? If you look at, you hear the story of Elon. Elon got a big payout as being one of the core team at PayPal. He put a bunch of money into Tesla. He put a bunch of money into SpaceX. In fact, all of his money, to the point where he had to borrow money to pay the rent that next month, after he put literally millions of dollars into Tesla and millions of dollars into SpaceX of the money that he got out of PayPal, which is everything. He was all in. He put every bit of his money into those 2 companies plus Solar City. He had to borrow money to pay rent. Those are innovators who are willing to step out and take action. They really believe at what they're doing. It goes back to the quote that I've shared many times. Ideas without execution are a hobby, and real innovators are not in the hobby business. Now, while we look at some of these, they may have magic superpowers, these innovators, there is these characteristics somewhat explains why they are successful. It comes down to doing what any of us can do. Any of these attributes, we can do them, right? There's nothing unique to them. Curiosity. Do you read a lot? Do you stay up? Can you get out of being a conformist? We get trained to conform. We're not born as conformists as children. We get trained to be conformist. You can train yourself not to be. You can stay up on the new things, experiment, try things out. You can get yourself on the perseverance curve of being dedicated. I'm not going to let the first speed bump distract me. High flexibility. That's a skill we all need to learn. We can't be so pigeonholed in thinking. And you got to lean towards taking action. It's not like any of these characteristics are like this big superpower and it's a DNA blessing thing. We can all do these things. It's a choice. It's a choice if you want to be one of these game-changing, innovative individuals that transforms an industry, a market, a society. It's in your control. Now, to help you work through what all the characteristics are, I'm going to have links to all of the interviews that I mentioned, the ones that have been on the show, so you can go back and you can listen to all those and then check those out so you can kind of hear in their own voice what was it like going through the challenges and struggles to take their idea and make it real. So thanks for stopping by my studio. If you have any feedback, questions, suggestions for topics, just drop me an email over at phil@killerinnovations.com. That bypasses anybody. It comes directly to me. Yes, it's really me that is answering that. Hey, can I ask a quick favor? Can you just go over to iTunes, leave us a quick review, give us a rating? It's a big help for letting us know what you think of the show. And it also helps get the word out, makes more people aware of the show. Killer Innovations is part of the Innovators Network. Go check out the other shows on the network, like Kim McNicholas on innovation. Kim, if you're not familiar, she's been on the show many times. Kim is the executive director of the Extreme Tech Challenge for Sir Richard Branson. So she gets to travel around and look at all the startup companies to see what is the latest, hottest, newest thing. Kim is an Emmy Award-winning journalist from Forbes. She ran Forbes Video for many, many years. Kim and I have been friends. She holds the record of having been on my show the most times, and I think I hold the record of being on her show the most times. Her show is Friday live on KDOW. You can listen to it, stream it, over at theinnovators.network/Kim, KYM/live on Friday afternoons. And you can check out her show and you can listen to it over there, or you can get it as a podcast. Just search for Kim, KYM, over on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. You really do want to listen to her show. She's got those startup companies that are really going to transform. She's been doing a series both on sports and on medicine here lately, two separate topics that have just been mind-blowing. So go check it out. With that, we're going to sign off. We will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.